Guess what? It is December 14th. And do you know what that means? It's the start of your GST holiday. Let's go. Enough of that crap. Let's get into what's actually going on the ground. PepsiCo's statement to their distributors of what is going to be happening with this GST program. They say, we are writing to address concerns around the GST HST Holiday Relief Program announced by the Government of Canada and PepsiCo Canada's invoicing processes for December 14th, 2024 through February 15th, 2025. Please share this memo with relevant purchasing and finance contacts at your organization. Based on the requirement for payment to be received in full within this period, the specific time and constraints in our billing process at PepsiCo Canada will continue charging GST and HST on qualifying products from December 14th through to February 15th. There will be no changes to our current invoicing processes. Invoicing processes, customers can continue to claim input tax credits for any GST and HST paid. And this made the swath through social media. As I said, you've seen this likely already, and if you haven't, well, here you are. Here's a nice surprise what's happening this holiday season. An ill thought out GST relief program. Just another feather in the cap for this Liberal government. When we saw this, we weren't surprised, almost in some ways expecting it, because all we heard was the rumors and the rumblings from small businesses and businesses alike that it actually takes a lot of work to remove the GST off of items and then put it back on. It's actually going to cost us quite a bit of money in terms of how our machines work, this, that, the other. And so when we saw this come out from a big company like PepsiCo saying, yeah, we're not doing this, everyone's like, whoa, but Trudeau just promised this was law. Trudeau just promised that this was going to be happening. And now it's not being implemented. And so if this is happening between PepsiCo and the distributors, obviously that's going to get passed down to the consumer in some way, shape, or fashion, wouldn't it? And well, turns out it does. This is from Dan Kelly, the president and CEO of CFIB, the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. And he put out this tweet yesterday, which was pretty damning, and again, just really showed and highlighted the issue of this program, and as well as it gave light and credence to the concerns that we have been hearing of rumors from small businesses here on the ground throughout the country. He says, breaking news, 6 hours before the GST and HST holiday is set to begin, CFIB confirms with the government that it is not mandatory for businesses to participate. This measure is now law. We expect businesses to comply with the new rules, but we don't intend to chase after small businesses that may struggle to implement the measure in time. There remain pathways for businesses and all Canadians to obtain their GST relief on qualifying goods through the CRA. And this came from the CRA. And the first comment on this was source. And Dan Kelly followed up with, it's a very senior official. I'm urging the CRA to post the same publicly. So CFIB, the CEO of CFIB saying, yeah, this is not mandatory. And I heard this from the CRA themselves, very high up within the organization. And what they're urging people to do instead is to keep track of your receipts, keep track of your purchases during this time, and submit them at tax time to be able to get your money back from CRA. This wasn't exactly the dream that we were promised, was it? This wasn't exactly the beautiful break that you're hoping to get. So this is what you're going to be doing. To those who don't run small businesses and don't run businesses at all, and you're just a regular working person, tracking expenses is not exactly your everyday thing that you do, but now you're going to be doing this. So make sure you take notice of what is applicable and what is allowed underneath this GST relief program, and make sure you collect your receipts, keep track of them, and so you can save your $50 at tax time. That's how this is all going to work. Likely, I see very few businesses, now that this is becoming reality, very few businesses are actually going to be taking the GST off any of their items because it's just such a hassle for them. So now they're going to be passing the burden onto you, the consumer, to go deal with the CRA and get your money back. And what they have done is essentially have turned this GST holiday break into a glorified rebate program where now you, the consumer, are keeping track of your data, you're keeping track of your receipts, keeping track of your purchases, and submitting those to the CRA to be able to get a refund. And you know what's going to happen. Those stories will come out in April of, hey, I submitted all my receipts and my claims, and now the CRA says like this wasn't included, this wasn't included. I thought this was included, but I guess they didn't include this brand. This, like, those conversations and those issues will come up. That will happen, and more frustration will ensue. The reason why we want to cover the story, the reason why we think this is important is because, well, give the clerks a break this holiday season. People who are working, small business owners, or even those just working the tills, give them a break. They're just the messengers. They're caught up in this BS systemic issue that is just a gong show in a circus. That's just how this is going. Caught up in bureaucracy, they say. This is what's happening. And so the thing about this tweet, which I thought was very interesting, is Dan Kelly gets into the nitty gritty of what he deduces of what the CRA is getting at here. He says the government wants to offer everyone the holiday, but no business is required to do so. If a business decides to collect the GST, HST on eligible goods to avoid the administrative challenges, it must remit the tax revenue to the CRA as normal. Consumers and businesses that have paid the GST and HST on eligible goods can go to the CRA for a refund. Competitive pressure will push most retailers and restaurants into participating anyway. They won't want to risk losing a sale to the neighboring biz that is participating. Many manufacturers and distributors like PepsiCo will not participate, which will cause cash flow issues for small business owners. What a mess. So what I understand from this is really going to come down to the small businesses as well. They're going to be forced to float and bridge the gap. They're going to be forced, and from a competitive perspective, to not collect the GST and then kind of take that as a shortfall with all their customers, because PepsiCo and things that they're selling, those big manufacturers, they're still collecting GST. So they're going to have to pay the GST to the manufacturers. They're going to have to not collect the GST from the consumers, and they're going to have to bridge the gap themselves to cover for these next 2 months and then remit to the CRA and be able to get that refund. So hopefully they can make it through. Hopefully they're fine. Hopefully their finances are good, but some businesses are tight. So this is falling on two parties that this was never meant to fall on. And how it all often goes, two things are going to happen. Either small businesses will be put in a bind over this, or consumers are going to have to collect all their receipts, see what's included, what's not included, and then file to the CRA to get their money back. Whichever way this goes is going to be rough. And I feel for the homies out there. It shouldn't really have been this complicated. There was other ways to help people out, give them a tax break. Removing the carbon tax is one. There's a thought. There are other ways to do this, but this is so messy and so ill thought out. And as someone who works as a UX designer, all we think about is systems. How do we design systems better? And you can tell that this was ill thought out simply because they thought of one outcome that could happen, and that the outcome was, well, people get tax off. That's great. That will be good for us in the polls. That's all they were thinking about. They were not thinking about how to execute this properly and what this meant for the system across the country. It's just the reality. Just another ill-planned program that was simply a political ruse to satisfy the rabble on the ground. That's the reality of the situation. Trudeau knows he's acting like him and his homies are acting like, oh, no, we're doing fine. We're doing good. People still love us. But they know they're falling and getting crushed in the polls. They know they are. And so they were hoping that this would help boost them in the polls, get some favor from the voters. And well, based on Advocate's data, there was no GST holiday or Trump bump, as the Conservatives hold a 23-point lead still. As of December 4th, the data was collected from November 29th to December 4th, around the announcement of these things. Conservatives got +1. Liberal had no change. NDP -1. Bloc -1. Virtually no change at all within the polls. No change. People are seeing through this BS, and good for them. I think this is a big proponent to really show Trudeau that Canadians, as much as he thinks so, are not dumb. They know what is happening. They know what is going on. They know this is just a political ploy to be able to get votes. And good for Canadians to be in the know. Good for Canadians to watch what's happening. If there was a huge swing in the polls over this, I would have thought we were doomed. I'm like, oh my gosh. One little political ruse will get you to switch your vote. Okay. But no, people see it as absolute crap. And again, this is all anecdotal, but when my left-leaning friends are calling me about this GST holiday, saying that they think it's BS and they think it's wrong and they think it's just a political ploy to be able to get votes, when they are seeing it and think it's dumb, you know you've really lost the plot and you know you've lost your base. It's absolutely crazy. And to finish off on this beautiful Saturday as we start off and kick off the GST holiday, take a look at this video. Al-Hussein coming in clutch. Al-Hussein, he's been around a while, or he's really making himself known this holiday season. Oh man, his videos have been golden this year. Holy jumping.
Not gonna lie, Tim Hortons and Canada have gone to shit. Listen, as the CEO of CEOs, I'm gonna make it a law that if you're a white Canadian, Caucasian, and you wanna work at Tim Hortons, $28 an hour, starting plus benefits. I went to Tim Hortons the other day, and for the first time in history, I seen a white person work, and I got so excited, bro. I couldn't believe my eyes. I almost popped a boner. I go to the drive-thru. Hey, welcome to Tim Hortons. How can I get your order? They got the order right, and they gave me an extra tidbit. It's so fucking amazing. I'm not gonna lie. I was so happy. I was smiling cheek to cheek. It was the happiest I've ever been since the birth of my first child, a white person working at Tim Hortons. As the CEO of CEOs, I'm making it a federal law that if you want to work at Tim Hortons and you are of the Caucasian, you are getting $28 an hour starting to make Canada great again and to make Tim Hortons awesome again. Enough of motherfuckers fucking up my order, attitude. It's bad. So that was the happiest I've ever been. White Tim Hortons worker. I think we need more of that. So yeah, if you're white and you're a Canadian and you want to work at Tim Hortons, $28 an hour starting. Let's see more of it. God bless everybody except for George Bush.
Oh, Al Hussein's, oh, what a gem. So dumb, so on so many levels, but so comical at the same time. But yes, have yourselves a great Saturday, y'all. We love you. I'm out. Peace.